Hello, beautiful ladies. Welcome to Ladies Handle Your Business, where we empower women to be their best selves by handling their business in every area of life. We believe when you are whole, mind, body, soul, and spirit, you are unstoppable and able to achieve the highest level of success in your business, career, finances, relationships, family, marriage, health, mental wellness, and spirituality. Your host is Taunja Valrese Johnson. Taunja is on a mission to help women discover their assignments and propel them into their destiny. Because, ladies, your time is now.
Hello, beautiful ladies. Happy Saturday. Welcome to the Ladies Handle Your Business show. I am your host, Taunja Valrese Johnson. I am your success strategist, your mindset motivator, your empowerment encourager, and your destiny driver. I am on a mission to help women achieve wholeness in every area of their life, mind, body, soul, and spirit. Listen, let us know that you're here. We have a full show today. So excited about the topic and our guest. So let me know that you're here. Couple of housekeeping things. Number one, go ahead and share this video. Invite your friends to listen. Remember, we're streaming live on Facebook and we're streaming live on YouTube right now. So go ahead and share, invite. Just a couple of announcements before we take a quick break and bring on our guest for today. Remember, coming soon, we will have Fun Day Fridays where we're going to post a question and just ask you something like fun for Fun Day Friday, right? Right now, and all that we're going through in our world, it's okay to have fun. It's okay to laugh. So for an example, like what is your favorite TV show, or what is your favorite meal, or what was your favorite TV show in the 70s or 80s? Just something really, really fun, because we are a group of ladies all on this journey to wholeness, and we want to build a community. So that's coming up soon. Don't forget, also coming up in January, we will have our Mindset Minutes, where every single day, Monday through Friday at 8 a.m., one of the Ladies Handle Your Business coaches is going to come on with a 3 to 5 minute video that's uplifting, encouraging, and inspiring, just to get you through your day, just to encourage you that you can do it. You can keep you pushing, keep you motivated. That's what Ladies Handle Your Business is all about. So we are here for you. We'll be right back after this brief break, and we will have our guests.
Hello, beautiful ladies. Are you tired of not being happy, not being fulfilled in life, overwhelmed, or out of balance? Are you unsure of life's purpose? Is fear holding you back from walking in your God-given assignment? Are you ready to live a life of wholeness in mind, body, soul, and spirit? You deserve to live a life of abundance, overflow, and achieve the highest level of success in your business, career, finances, relationships, family, marriage, health, mental wellness, and spirituality. Ladies, if you are ready to transform your life, live authentically, and live your best life now, then Ladies Handle Your Business is for you. Join our private Facebook community today, because ladies, your time is now.
Welcome back, ladies. Happy Saturday again. I am so super excited about our show today and about our guests. Please help me welcome to the Ladies Handle Your Business show, Miss Naomi Washington. Welcome, Naomi.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Thank you so much for being a part of our show today. You know, the topic that we're going to talk about today is just so vitally important to our wholeness. And I remember when I first talked to you, and I was first asking you about self-care and just some of the stuff that you were sharing with me. And it's more about what we think. So I'm excited about the ladies getting to know all about what self-care is, why it's important that you're redefining self-care and why we understand self-care and why it's so important to our wholeness. So with that said, let me just say one other thing. Ladies, don't forget, let us know you're here. If you have any questions for Naomi or myself, please put those in the chat box so we can go ahead and take a look at those. And Amanda is behind the scenes, and so she'll be listening and looking at your remarks or your questions as well. So without further ado, Naomi, will you go ahead and tell the ladies a little bit about yourself?
Well, good morning, everyone. My name is Naomi P. Washington, and I am a certified personal and executive coach. I started out in the profession of social work. I come from a family of teachers, military, nurses. So, service is something that I've always been connected to and identified with. And of course, as I said, I went into the field of social work. I actually went so far as to getting a master's degree in marriage and family counseling. But I knew that there was still not really a connection or just wanting to be in that box of having to go through the process of being a counselor. And so what ended up happening was life taught me some lessons. And God made sure that in those lessons, I stayed connected to what He was calling me to do. And as a result, for about the last 6 or 7 years, I've officially embraced the role of being a coach. And so that's a little bit about my journey. The decision to become a coach was an easy one, but my journey in that process was very interesting. At
Mm,
the age of 27, I suffered from a transient ischemic attack, which is called a mini stroke. And then I also had a brain aneurysm that I currently still live with. But that is something that was a part of my journey to identify as a coach that I wanted to help helping professionals or those individuals I call superheroes make sure that they have a self-care plan to take care of themselves while they're continuing to serve others.
wow. Wow. See, the things that you get to know about people. Wow, we'll have to have you on the show again for a whole nother. Wow. But that's a fabulous testimony that you are still here and God
Yes.
healed you and He used your journey to take you on that journey to self care. So, with that said, what is self care? Why are you so passionate about it?
Well, I'm passionate about self care because I learned firsthand what it really meant.
Mhm.
And as we talk, my philosophy is that self care is putting yourself as a priority. As women, as servants, as those who are in the ministry, a lot of times we're taught that that is selfish, putting yourself first or saying I before we,
Mm,
showing up in a room too loud.
yeah.
Those things are considered selfish or egocentric. And what I've learned on my own journey, what I've learned with the women that I work with, is that self care is, of course, it's not selfish, but you can't serve others if you are not first serving yourself.
Amen to
And
that.
so that's a practice that I've always employed once I really came to the understanding of what that really meant. So, on the level of what is self care, when we hear self care, that's something that, of course, everybody has been throwing out for several years now. It came about a lot during this whole pandemic of self care, but self care is more than getting your nails and your hair done. I don't believe that taking care of yourself means that you go more or deeper into debt while trying to deal with and maintain the life and the wellness that you deserve. So
Yes.
self care is about your wellness and
Mm,
not just from a physical standpoint, but are you well in your relationships? Are you well in your vocation or your profession that you've chosen? Are you well in your intellectual abilities? And it does, of course, go into that physical aspect. Are you well spiritually? So those are the concepts of self-care that we work on a lot of times with our clients. And that is the premise of what we believe. And we are redefining and shaping self-care to mean for those who serve others.
that is so, so powerful. It's so interesting that what you said is it's about wellness, your spirituality, and all of that is such in alignment with what Ladies Handle Your Business is really all about. Women being whole in every single area. So, why is self care so important, Naomi, to us being whole?
Well, self-care is important to being whole because you don't want to live fragmented.
That's
And
good.
so you have to take care of those pieces in order to put them together and have them fit well together, because they can fit together, but do they fit well? And
Yes.
so, in your wholeness, you want to make sure that you're taking care of those individual pieces, and you have the power and the authority to choose how to do that. And so, self care is going to be the practice that makes sure that as you're pulling those pieces together, as you're starting to live whole, that
Yeah.
you're living whole and that you're well in putting those pieces into place.
You said something so powerful. You said fragmented. And we do live our lives as women a lot of times. It's we're fragmented and we're all over the place. And so it's no wonder that we're out of balance. It's no wonder that we're not whole and that sometimes we feel like we're going crazy.
Right.
But we're not going crazy. It's just some things that we need to begin to get in alignment, get in order so that we can become whole. What are some lessons that you learned and that you can tell the ladies today on your journey to self-care that really made a difference in your life?
Well, one of the things that I think is essentially important, and not just something that I've learned for myself, but something I work with my clients on, is making sure that you put yourself as a priority. It's
Yeah.
so easy for us to pour into others and to take care of others, and then at the end of the day, the last thing on the list is making sure that we're taken care of. And when I say taken care of, I don't mean from a physical standpoint. I mean from the overall whole concept of who you are. At
Yes.
the end of the day, we've given out so much of ourselves until when we need us, we're not available. And
Mm-mm.
that means that we're tired. We have a lack of, attention. Even small things like taking a shower and not rushing through it. It's small things like making sure that you're taking the time to look in the mirror and have that self-talk. But we rush through those things because we're giving and pouring to so many other people. And so that's one of the things that is number one, is making sure you make yourself a priority. The second thing is setting up boundaries.
Wow.
Boundaries are not walls, they're
Mm.
doors.
Come on.
And so it's just like when you build a house. You build the house and the house serves the purpose for which you built it. But as you grow and you expand your family, as you discover new things that you like, during this pandemic, I realized that I like plants. And so now we have plants all over the house. Well, in the process of deciding that you want to expand your boundaries, expand your territory,
Mm.
you have to build new doors. You have to open new places that once were shut off. And so setting up those boundaries to make sure, one, that you're making yourself a priority, but that things are not necessarily spilling into other places. And so setting those boundaries is going to be important when it comes to self-care. If you know your commitment and your decision today was to not do anything,
Yeah.
then that's your commitment to yourself. You set up that boundary so that nothing can come between you and your self-care.
Yeah.
Nothing can come between you and your well care, your well maintenance, your time with God.
Yeah.
Nothing comes between you and that time, because that is a part of your self-care. Setting up those boundaries is essential.
So spirituality is one of the main things that we believe in here at Ladies Handle Your Business. That attributes to us being whole, right?
Mhm.
And actually, I believe it's foundational because if, like you just said, if we don't have that time and we don't spend that time with God, we can forget about everything else. But I want to ask you something. I know for me, and I'm sure ladies that are watching this video now or this stream now, or that will watch the replay will have this same question. For me, I am a nurturer. And
Mhm.
I like to give and pour out all the time. And when I don't do that, I often feel guilty. And so, how do I begin to, let's see, how do I want to phrase this? How do I begin to get rid of that guilt and shame and setting those boundaries? How do I begin to do that?
That's a great question. It's one that has been very important, not just in my own self care,
Yes.
and my own growth, but also as I develop my business and I develop the premise of why I do what I do.
Yeah.
And just to give you a little bit of background to that, in 3 John 1 and 2, the
Hmm.
scripture says,
I think we lost Naomi, so we're going to go to a quick break, ladies, and we'll be, oh no, there she is.
I'm back.
Okay, there we are.
Okay. And but basically, that scripture is saying that you are to be well in all things and above all in your soul. And that is your self-care. That's where we're commanded to take care of ourselves just as we take care of others. And so it's important that as you give and you support others, that you take the time to really recognize, am I pouring out so much that I have nothing left for myself?
How do we begin that process? Like, I always have this vision of, for me, and I'm sure others do, ladies do too, of a plate. And I have this plate and there's so much stuff on this plate and it's running over. And it's like you go to a buffet, there's only so much you can put on that plate, right? And if you try to put more up there, it starts falling off and falling on the floor. And so how do we get to a point in our life to decide what things need to come off of our plate? Because we're sacrificing ourselves, right? You said, like, we're sacrificing our wellness, our emotional wellness, our mental health, everything we're sacrificing to make sure that we are still able to pour out. And I know for someone like me, and I'm just being very honest and transparent, having this conversation with you is, if I can use the word, therapeutic. Because you said something a few minutes ago about rushing, even when you're in the shower. Like probably about 3 or 4 weeks ago, I can't remember when it was, but my husband and I were at our daughter's house, and I have not done this in a long time. I literally took a bubble bath. I mean, like, and it felt so good, and I'm like, but do you know, the entire time I'm taking my bubble bath, I am thinking about what I need to do, who I need to talk to, what chores. And it's like we have so much just going on in our minds, right? We have so much on our plates, and we're trying to take care of this, and we're moms and we're wives, and we have jobs and we have careers. And then with this whole pandemic now, like everything. So for someone like me, if I was coming to you, like sitting in your chair, like, Naomi, how do I start? What do I do? What would be the first thing that you would tell me to do?
Well, the first thing I'm going to tell you to do is stop. You can't change the wheels on a car while the car is going. You can't change the oil while the car is running, right?
Yes.
So the first thing I would tell you to do is stop. One of the greatest pieces of information that I got from she'll be 90 next month, my 90-year-old aunt, was that you people, this is what she called us, the young generation. Y'all are always multitasking. But she said, you're really not doing anything. Because nothing gets 100% of you if you're giving pieces everywhere. That goes back to that fragmentation conversation. So you have to stop. And when you stop, that's when you settle in, okay, what is my priority right now? Is my priority, the laundry? Is my priority that project that's due for work? Is my priority my relationship with my children? Where's your priority set? And once you've identified that priority, what we're going to do is we're going to set out a plan. Because none of your priorities are going to work if you are not at a capacity where you can make them work.
That's good.
Right? So you can buy the best, the Tesla, whatever. You can buy the greatest car, but at the end of the day, if you're not available to drive it, it's not going anywhere.
Yes, that's so.
And so we go down to the bare bones minimum. And the first step is for you to stop so that we can actually see what it is that's moving around you.
Yes.
And then bring that piece to stop so that we can figure out what your plan is going to be.
Naomi, that is so powerful. I'm going to ask you a quick question, and then we're going to take a really quick break. And I want you to think about this while we're on the break. How do we know as women that what are some signs that we can look for to begin to know that we are lacking in taking care of ourselves? So think about that. We'll be right back in just a couple of moments.
Hello, beautiful ladies. Are you tired of not being happy, not being fulfilled in life, overwhelmed, or out of balance? Are you unsure of life's purpose? Is fear holding you back from walking in your God-given assignment? Are you ready to live a life of wholeness in mind, body, soul, and spirit? You deserve to live a life of abundance, overflow, and achieve the highest level of success in your business, career, finances, relationships, family, marriage, health, mental wellness, and spirituality. Ladies, if you are ready to transform your life, live authentically, and live your best life now, then Ladies Handle Your Business is for you. Join our private Facebook community today because, ladies, your time is now.
Welcome back, ladies. Thank you for joining us today. We have our special guest, Naomi P. Washington. I didn't say the P. Naomi P. Washington, and we are talking about self-care. And right before we took our quick break, I asked Naomi, how do we know, what are the signs that we are not taking care of ourselves?
Well, the first sign that you're not taking care of yourself is that you are the last person on your list. That's with everything. So it always means that your yes is somehow attached to something that you either don't want to do, you don't feel comfortable accepting, or that you feel obligated to do. And so the first thing is that you notice that you're the last person on your list. But a lot of times, what we oftentimes do as women is we dismiss the whole physical manifestation of us not putting ourselves first. And so that looks like knowing that that headache that you didn't have a couple of months ago is still continuing to show up. Your feet hurt, your back hurt, you're tired, you're not drinking water, or you're just eating anything. I remember there was a point in time in my life where I felt like I had to do everything. I was working a full-time job. I had 3 kids. I was married. I was going to graduate school. And when I tell you the things that I was eating, it should have been at that time, had I known what I know now, the first sign that I was not taking care of myself, because I would go to McDonald's every morning. I would get a large coffee with 5 creams and 20 sugars.
Oh my goodness. Yeah.
You heard that right. I said 20 sugars.
Yes.
Right?
Wow.
And that because I needed that to keep me up, to keep me going, to keep me in the goal, of my priorities. So I wasn't putting my physical wellness first, and that was showing up that way. I had real clouded thinking, so I couldn't really finish a thought. My concentration was broken. So going back to where we discussed fragmentation, my thoughts were fragmented.
Yes.
I couldn't finish a whole conversation without jumping to the next thought. And one of the pivotal things that I identified, and I'm so grateful for the blessing of friendships that God has given me, is that my dearest friend said to me one day, she said, I don't understand how you're doing everything. You should have broken down by now. Now, the way we're taught as women, that's a compliment. I'm doing it. I'm Superwoman. I've got this cape on and I'm going.
Come on.
But from a friendship standpoint, she was not paying me a compliment. She was saying, listen, you're going to break. You're going to break. I don't know when. I don't know what it's going to look like, but you're going to break. And then I acknowledged that. I recognized what she was saying based on what I couldn't see, and realized we had to make some decisions and we had to make some changes. And that's when I got myself into alignment with what it was that I was supposed to be doing, which at that point in time in my life, the priority was taking care of myself.
So what I hear you saying is God did not design us to be superwomen as we, and it's so interesting when I asked you about some of the signs and some of the symptoms. So like you, back in June of this year, I started having all of these different symptoms. I wasn't feeling well. I was always tired, extremely tired. I could take like an 8-hour, go to bed for 8 hours, and like I had never taken, like I've never taken a nap or anything. So I started having all these symptoms, but I had so much going on in my life, like go to Starbucks. Or now, don't get me wrong, I love Starbucks, but I now know the drinks that I can have at Starbucks. Go to McDonald's, or go to this restaurant, or order in, or do this, and everything else is first. And guess what happened? On June 17th, I was diagnosed with type 2 diabetes, and I was like, wait a minute, hold on. And that was a wake up call for me. And I'm like, wait a minute, I need to start taking care of myself. And so, as you mentioned earlier, spirituality, of course, that's really, really important. But what we eat, what we put into our bodies, drinking water and exercise, all of that changed for me. All of that began to change for me because it's so vitally important that we understand we're not superwomen.
Right.
And so, speaking of that, you have some ladies I know that are watching right now, like, but I have to do this and I have to do that. Can you just really emphasize the importance of what happens when we don't really take care of ourselves, and when it comes to our spirituality, when it comes to our mental health, our emotional well-being? What really begins to happen when we don't take care of ourselves?
And the best way for me to describe it is talking about money, that correlation between money, because everybody understands how money works, right? And so when we're not taking care of ourselves, think about it from the concept of having a bank account.
Okay.
If you go to the bank and you withdraw $1,000, but you didn't put $1,000 in there, your account is now overdrawn.
So good. Yes.
And that account is now negative that $1,000, but then whatever other fees come along with that have now been added into that deficit.
Mm.
And so now it doesn't matter what you put into your account. It doesn't matter how much you put into your account. It's going to take some work and some time to bring you back up to zero for anything else to have credit.
Wow. Wow.
And so when it comes to taking care of ourselves, that's why you hear so often you can't pour from an empty cup.
Right.
But think about it from the aspect of a bank account. You can't take out what it is that you didn't put in. And it's for certain. If you take it out, you're at a deficit and you have to at some point come back and catch up. And there are fees and taxes and things added to that.
Yeah.
So as you're kind of contemplating what is it that is required of me, what is it that I'm pouring out, and who is it that I'm pouring into, take into consideration what are those things that you're doing to put back in as you take out. Who's pouring into you? Because you can always be poured into, but is the pouring in something that is going to be manifesting so that you can pour back out into others?
That is so good. Wow. I love that example. And I know the ladies love that example as well. So I'm getting ready to ask you a question. And I know we're not talking about self-love. That's not why we're interviewing you. However, I do believe, is there a correlation between self-love and self-care?
Yes. Yes. And the simple answer is yes, but you don't take care of things you don't love.
Oh, now you have to expound on that. You can't just leave it there.
Right? You don't take care of things you don't love and that you don't care about. I'm not going to babysit somebody's child if I don't like children, if I don't care for them, and if I really don't feel like taking care of their child, right? My youngest child is 12. So you bring babies to me, we have to have a conversation at this point in my life. But I'm not going to take that on if I don't have a care and a concern and an affection for those things. So when it comes to self-love, it connects to that self-care, because as I love myself more, as I care for myself more, as I have more concern for myself, I'm going to take care of myself a little bit differently. It's going to look different. The way I take care of myself may not look the way it does when you take care of yourself. Because as I said before, for me, it's not about hair, nails, makeup, girls' trips and all. It's not about that, because those things don't actually manifest for me in my life in the way that I need it to. So my self-love is going to look differently. My self-love looks like me actually putting moisturizer on my feet before I go to bed and putting on some thick socks.
Yes.
Right. So self-love is based on self-care is based on the ability that you have to love yourself.
Oh, that is so good. Ladies, did you hear that? Can you just repeat that one more time, Naomi? That's so powerful.
Self-care is based on, well, self-care is based on your ability to love yourself. And when I say ability, I'm not
Wow.
just talking about the actual work and the
Mhm.
effort and the motion of it. I'm
Yeah.
talking about your capacity.
Mm.
I'm talking about what it is that you're pouring into yourself. What do you want that to manifest into, right? So that's gonna show, that self-love's gonna show based on how you take care of yourself.
Wow, that is so. And I know that you're not saying this to make the ladies feel guilty, or ashamed or none of that, but that is so powerful. Like, we could just hang out there for just a few minutes. Let me see. Corey said yes. Ebony was like, yes, brilliant examples. I know. Corey was like, so good. And Mona earlier said, good advice. So, we talked a few minutes ago about how full our plates are, right? We talked about us, being moms and being wives and having jobs. And you mentioned going to school, getting your master's prior. And we talk about all these things that we we are obligated, right? We're obligated to be good moms. We're obligated to be good wives. We're obligated to all these external things that really, yes, being a mom, like, I love being a mom, and I love being a wife. But we have all of these other external responsibilities that is basically draining our energy, right? And I know for me, a lot of times I have to literally just stop and just say, wait a minute, Taunja, you're not taking care of yourself. Like, and you said it so powerfully a few minutes ago, like, if we are not taking care of ourselves, we're an empty cup. Or when you gave the example about the bank account. And so what are some examples that you would give right now for the ladies to begin to fill in their self-care cup, self-love cup back up?
So one of the first things that I would ask someone, especially my clients, I always ask them when they tell me all the things they're obligated to do,
Yes.
is I always ask them, what is it that you subscribe to? So when you subscribe to something, be it, a service provider or anything like that, when you subscribe to something, you take on and you give them access to certain things in your life. You
Mm.
have to give them permissions. So where is it that you subscribed and lost your authority because you gave something else permission?
Naomi, can you give us an example, a practical example of something you're talking about? Because this is so good. I tell you
Yeah.
what, we're going to take another break real quick. And when you come back, if you can give us an example, we'll be right back, ladies. Don't go anywhere.
Hello, beautiful ladies. Are you tired of not being happy, not being fulfilled in life, overwhelmed, or out of balance? Are you unsure of life's purpose? Is fear holding you back from walking in your God-given assignment? Are you ready to live a life of wholeness in mind, body, soul, and spirit? You deserve to live a life of abundance, overflow, and achieve the highest level of success in your business, career, finances, relationships, family, marriage, health, mental wellness, and spirituality. Ladies, if you are ready to transform your life, live authentically, and live your best life now, then Ladies Handle Your Business is for you. Join our private Facebook community today because, ladies, your time is now.
Welcome back, ladies. Thank you for hanging in there with us on today as we interview our special guest, ladies, on Ladies Handle Your Business show, Naomi P. Washington, as we are discussing today a topic that we really don't discuss that much anymore, and it's self-care. And I love the fact that Naomi is giving us some real life practical examples, some really good examples of what self-care is. And I love the fact that Naomi is redefining self-care. ladies, we know self-care is getting massages or getting our nails done or getting our hair done. Now, I can tell you right now, Naomi's beautiful. So I know she's not saying don't do any of that, but what she's saying is self-care is much more deeper than what we thought it was. And we need to redefine it and understand what self-care is about. So Naomi, again, thank you again for joining us. So right before the commercial break, I asked you that question. I know you pondered it. Go ahead and give it to us now.
So a practical example, as I said, I would have someone who's really trying to figure out, do they need to be taking care of themselves? Is what have you subscribed to? So the practical example is being a mom or being a wife.
Okay.
When you start those two journeys, however you start them, you have this automatic understanding based on how you were raised, what you were told, what you believed, what what you dreamed up as a fairy tale position for those roles. And so now you subscribe to that notion, whether you can do it or not. So you've already set the standard here for being, the mom and the wife, right? So you have those expectations, this is what everything's going to look like. This is what I'm going to do every day. This is my routine. And so as soon as something happens and you're here or you're down here, now all of a sudden you're trying to catch up.
Yeah.
But here's the thing, we create these false ceilings or these false senses of what reality should look like that we completely disconnect from the reality that we do have. And so me being the best mom and wife means that I have to be the best wife for Kevin, and I have to be the best mom for Santavia, Kieran, and Nathan.
Yes.
That may not look like my neighbor who's the best wife to her husband and the best mother to her children. But that doesn't make either of us wrong. And so even in that process, being the best at what it is you do and what you're responsible for and what you're called to has another level of responsibility for you to take care of yourself. So that's something we normally don't apply to that process.
Naomi, okay, so listen, I am like blown away right now. I'm telling you, this is so in alignment with our vision for Ladies Handle Your Business and Being Whole. And you're saying some very good, powerful things. I mean, things that I've not heard ever, to be honest with you. And it's how do we begin to go on that journey though? Like, does that start with the mindset change? What does that start? You said something before we took our break. You said, if a client comes into you and they tell you, I have this, and you say, the first thing you tell them is stop. How do we get there? Like for me, I don't even know where to begin. Like, stop what? Like what? The question just came to me. How do I begin to prioritize the stop?
The stop is because it's necessary.
Oh, wow.
So once it becomes necessary, it's going to require two things. It's going to require your commitment, and it's going to require your accountability.
Wow.
And there's always a disconnect with that. People don't like the word accountability.
Yeah.
They don't like the word accountability, but it's your responsibility. It's your responsibility, and not just your responsibility, but God's already given you the power and the authority for those things.
Yes.
And so in that instance, you have to make it a priority to stop. You have to make it a commitment to stop. Come hell or high water, I'm going to stop because it is required of me at this point in time. So you have to commit within yourself to make that a decision. A lot of times we don't commit. And if you choose not to commit, you have the power to do that. And that is completely fine. No judgment.
Yeah.
That is your decision. If you say, you know what, right now in my life, I can't stop. Right now in my life, I can't take care of myself. There's nothing wrong with that, because that is your right and responsibility. And you will be held accountable for what comes with that. I can't judge you on that. But it's always going to be your power and your authority to make that commitment.
Is that, let me ask you this question for the ladies that's listening out there and myself. It's so interesting because when I do these interviews and we have these shows, you sort of think you already have a preconceived idea. Before I met you, before we talked on the phone, I had a preconceived idea. One of the things that I want to ask the ladies, because we're going to have a show coming up the end of this month, is there a difference between self-care and soul care? And if it is a difference, what are the differences? But how are they related, if they are related at all?
Well, they are related.
Okay.
And I like to say it's the same thing between coaching and counseling,
Okay.
right? So the counselor is going to help you dig some stuff up and identify where those things came from once you dug them up. And then a coach is going to help you move forward with those things, set up a plan to decide if this is what I want to continue to do. So soul care can't be done unless you practice self-care.
Oh, wow. Okay.
But self-care is also an extension of your soul care. So I hope that makes sense. They're connected, but they're two separate things at the same time. And so you can't decide to take care of your soul and be well in your soul until you decide to put yourself first and make that your self-care practice. But once you understand the importance of taking care of your soul,
Uh,
then you understand really how influentially important self-care is.
yeah, I think for me, and I can't speak on the ladies that are watching today. I think for me, that's going to require a mindset change because we are taught, or we do feel like taking care of yourself, we're not supposed to do that, or give yourself. I even to the point, like I hear some people say that they literally take retreats, like they'll go away just on a retreat for themselves, like with no kids, no husband, it's just them. And I can't even imagine sitting here thinking, like, right now, like, well, that seems weird. That seems odd that I would like literally do that.
Mhm.
But it's like a time of replenishing, is it not?
It is. It
Okay.
really is. It is because you need that time to not just fill your cup but empty your cup.
Oh, oh,
Sometimes we don't know can work. Sometimes we don't know if things work outside of us until we step away, right? And so sometimes that's going to be crucially important to take that time away to do your self-care or even just to discover where to start your self-care.
yeah.
Sometimes you can't hear because of all the background noise. So
Yes.
you have to separate yourself. I do a detox from social media at the end of every year so that I can determine not just what I want to do moving forward, but what in the world have I done for the rest of the past year?
Yeah. Oh,
Because you do so much that you don't know. And
yes.
so I can actually pull away from social media, pull away from other obligations to say, okay, what have I done this year? What worked? What didn't work? What do I want to continue to do? And then I set my plan in place. And that doesn't just go for business, but that's just my overall person.
Yeah.
What improvements can I make as a mom, as a wife, as a sister, as a friend? What did work this year? What didn't work this year?
That's so good. So you say empty the cup. I love that.
Mhm.
Empty the cup so that we can know what to fill the cup back with.
Yes.
Should we be cautious though of refilling the cup? And then what do we decide to do? How do we decide? Is there a process that we go through to say, okay, wait a minute, I'm taking this out? We just don't want to put things back in the cup because then we're going to be right back to where we started, right? So
Right.
give us some advice on, okay, we're taking something out of the cup. How do we evaluate, okay, this is what needs to come out? Do we replace that with something else? Do we leave it out? What's that process look like for us?
So it's just like, for example, if you have your morning cup of coffee, once you finish that cup of coffee, you're not just going to immediately. Well, let me take that back. I don't immediately put orange juice or water back into that cup
Okay.
because that residue from that coffee is still there.
Mm, mm,
So
mm.
I either am going to change my cup because first off, I might change the cup because I need a different capacity. I
Yeah.
was drinking 8 ounces of coffee, but now I'm drinking 12 ounces of water. I need a new cup. But if
Wow.
I remain in that same cup, I'm going to clean that cup out. I'm going to go, it's going to come empty so that I can put back in there what I need for the rest of my day. And then once I'm done with that, I'm emptied out from that water. I may decide I want, some soda or something like that. But you always, you're not going to pour things on top of things just for the, and sometimes we do. We pour things on top of things for the sake of saying that I'm full. I'm
Exactly.
doing all of this stuff. I'm superwoman. But are you really? Are you really? If you look at these superhero movies, you know, and I don't know a lot about it. I have to ask my 12-year-old son, but I've never seen Superman go anywhere outside of the metropolis of wherever his city is. You don't see him flying all across the country, all across the world. You
That's so
see him
good.
right there where he is. So make a decision that as Superwoman, are you really serving? Are you really following in what you've been created to do? And have you put limits and borders on yourself? When you go back to what you were saying earlier about us actually being taught that we had to take care of everyone and that we had to be there for everyone and serve everyone, that's what we were taught. But
Mm-hmm.
if I'm taught a lesson, or if I'm learning a lesson and going through emotional level 1, when I get to level 2, bring some I might need to bring some new games, right? I might need some new information. So we can't stay stuck on level 1 and then get to level 2 and use and employ the same strategies, the same thought process, the same mindset. You
Mm-hmm.
have to stretch that capacity. Not saying that everything on level 1 was bad, not saying that everything mama and grandma and daddy taught us was bad, but it may not be sufficient and beneficial for the season that I'm in.
That is so, so good. So you said a few minutes ago when I asked you about the stop and what it requires, you said commitment and you said accountability. But you just said something that's so powerful that I think we need to just take a couple of minutes to talk about. You said it requires a decision. So it seems like it requires a decision before we can even get to the commitment or get to the accountability. Can you just tell the ladies a little bit about how did you get to that decision in your own life? What was that? What did that experience look like? What did it look like for you?
That decision came from me understanding that I couldn't do it all.
Come on.
And it was a hard decision. In my book, which you can find on Amazon, called Unapologetically Here, I talk about the moment when I was going through so much of the process of working and being a mom, being a wife, going to school, taking care of my responsibilities, and then being in a kind of a middle place with my health and my
Yeah.
medical,
Yes.
where I literally felt like I lost control.
Mm,
And so at that point, I had to make a decision. Okay, that's it.
that's it.
I
Yeah.
relinquish, God, you take over. Whatever you have to happen will happen. Whatever I need to do, I'll do. But I had to make that decision. Had
Yes.
I not made that decision that day, in that moment, in the awareness I was in, I wouldn't be here today.
Yes. Come on.
And
That's
so you have to make that decision. Otherwise, it's all going to be void and null, because you're just going through the motion. We make the decision to take care of ourselves, and we make the decision not to take care of ourselves. That's a decision whether you make it consciously or you don't.
mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And
So it's a decision.
when you said, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. When you said you're going through the motions, are we just going around the same circle, doing the same thing day in and day out, and we're never getting to that point where we're even allowing ourselves to slow down, allowing
Right.
ourselves to make that decision, allowing ourselves to make that commitment, or allowing ourselves to be accountable? You talked about accountability. What does that look like?
Accountability is, and I love to say this, not just in my role as a coach, but in my role as a leader with other individuals that are employed with me, but you are accountable for what you're responsible for.
Yeah.
So I can't be accountable for anything that is your responsibility.
Yes. Yes.
And one of the things that is your responsibility always, before anything else, before you were a mother, before you were a wife, before you were a daughter, God created you in his image for his purpose and to
Yes.
serve and walk that out in this world.
So good.
And so that is where you are responsible
Yeah.
from the beginning. We may not always be employed. We may not always be mothers and
Mhm.
wives. We may not always be church members. You may not always be a bank account holder,
Right.
but what you will always be is who God created you to be. And you are accountable for that.
Yeah. Yes. That is so that in itself, when you put it like that, that makes me want to make a decision. Ladies, we're going to take another quick break and we're going to come back with our conclusion of our interview with Naomi P. Washington on self-care. We'll be back in just a couple of seconds, ladies. Don't.
Hello, beautiful ladies. Are you tired of not being happy, not being fulfilled in life, overwhelmed, or out of balance? Are you unsure of life's purpose? Is fear holding you back from walking in your God-given assignment? Are you ready to live a life of wholeness in mind, body, soul, and spirit? You deserve to live a life of abundance, overflow, and achieve the highest level of success in your business, career, finances, relationships, family, marriage, health, mental wellness, and spirituality. Ladies, if you are ready to transform your life, live authentically, and live your best life now, then Ladies Handle Your Business is for you. Join our private Facebook community today because, ladies, your time is now.
Welcome back, ladies, to our show today with our special guest, Naomi P. Washington. I'm going to be saying that, Naomi P. Washington, as we are discussing self-care. So as we conclude our interview, I have two very critical, important questions for you that we didn't talk about, and I think we need to address before we're done here. Does self-care, and this question is probably for me, how does self-care reduce anxiety and stress?
Well, self-care brings about an awareness. And so once you become aware of your capacity, of what you can take in, what you can pour out, it'll support you in those cues and triggers to where your anxiety is coming up.
Yes, yes.
So, does that make sense?
That absolutely makes sense. That absolutely makes sense. And the last question that is really, really important, what are some of the benefits of self-care? How can we begin to take advantage of some of those benefits like immediately?
Well, the first thing that the first strategy that I teach with self-care, I know you talked about the mindset shift, but the mindset shift starts when you make the decision.
Yes.
So the next thing is making sure that your language, your narrative is now in alignment with your mindset. And so that looks like starting out by saying things like no when you mean no, yes when you mean yes. But it also starts out saying that no, I'm not going to commit to that right now, or I'm not going to commit to that at all. And because you've already shifted your mindset, you're okay with that. So that means you've changed that narrative, you've changed that language. So self-care is not just going to show up in your skin and show up in your hair and show up in your attitude. It's going to show up in your language.
Wow.
Because you're going to communicate differently. You're going to say, my priority today is this. It's going to communicate in your actions because you're not going to take those conversations that lead you on a path to where you feel anxious or you feel overwhelmed.
Wow.
It's going to show up in places that you really don't know that they are going to show up until they start showing up.
Mm-hmm.
Self-care is it's almost like a facelift, a body lift.
So good. That is so wow. Corey says yes. YESSSSS. Corey, thank you for watching with us today. Naomi, this has been a really, really powerful and impactful topic of self-care. And I know I've been blessed, and I know I am going to leave this interview and I'm going to be like, wait a minute. Even my mindset has shifted as we've been sitting here just talking, because again, we nails, manicures, hair, which none of that is, nothing's wrong with that, ladies. We're not
Wrong.
saying that. Nothing. You got to look good. keep,
Yeah.
keep it up.
Yeah. Yeah.
But that's not what self-care is really about,
Right.
because those things are just external.
Mm-hmm.
Naomi was talking about going deeper, right? What's on the inside of us? Really stopping to, put that lotion on. Take your time putting that lotion on. It's so interesting when you were talking about that. Even just, let me just ask this one more quick question. I'm thinking self-care also has to do with us prioritizing our day, right?
Right.
Because if not, that's when things begin to get out of balance, and when we're on that merry-go-round, just
Mm-hmm.
going around and around and around. Wow, Naomi, this has been I don't see any questions in there, but I see a lot of comments, so I know the ladies have enjoyed this.
Okay.
So ladies, real quick, in the beginning of the year, of course, we are going to offer our coaching and mentoring services. And it was funny because we will have right now, Ladies Handle Your Business under its umbrella has 10 coaches in every single area. And so I haven't had an official conversation with Naomi yet and say, Naomi, will you please come under our umbrella? But we're going to have that conversation. This is so very powerful that I think I want to sign up with Naomi. I struggle, ladies. Naomi, I struggle with a lot of the stuff that you said today, but I appreciate your transparency and you being authentic and being honest. And even when you were saying like, say no, whew, we're gonna have to have you up here just for another time. That I don't know about anyone else, but I struggle with saying no. And when I look at that plate that's in front of me, a lot of that stuff that's on my plate is because I didn't have the ability to say no, and I didn't have enough wherewithal to say no. That's going to take away from my self-care. Ebony says, me too. Ebony says, I'm taking it all in. But we just really want to thank you so much for being a part of our show today. In 30 seconds or less, can you just summarize the importance of self-care, how the ladies can find you? Again, we're going to talk about the coaching services a little bit. Let's see. Corey says you're not alone. Thank you, Corey. I'm learning. It's very tough, but I'm learning to say no. But if you can just summarize in 30 seconds, just the process, where we begin, and why self-care is so vitally important to us and being whole.
Well, just really quickly, as we close, self-care is essentially going to be your ability to care for yourself, just like it says, but it's so much deeper than the external. And so self-care requires you to, as I said before, stop, make the decision, make yourself a priority, and then hold yourself accountable to that commitment that you've made to yourself, so that as you pour out and you serve others, that you're making sure that you're pouring in and serving yourself first and foremost, so that you can be at your best capacity for those you serve.
That is so good. Ladies, I hope you have enjoyed our show today. Please join us right here next week for a very special. We are actually focusing on moms next week, where we have Amanda Ragland and Ebony and Abigail will be up here talking about moms motherhood as it relates to wholeness. So tune in next Saturday, 11 o'clock. Naomi, we want to thank you. I know that we're going to have you back up again, because there's a lot of stuff that we still need to talk about that we can't cover in 1 hour. Ladies, thank you so much for joining the Ladies Handle Your Business show. We want you to do something today. Go one step closer to something where you can take care of yourself, where you can get onto that journey of being whole, so that you can be all that God has called you to be in mind, body, soul, and spirit. We love you, and we'll see you right back here next Saturday. Enjoy the rest of your day and have a wonderful weekend. Bye-bye.